What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to be lifting this brand new 2018 Ford F350 Limited. We're doing the BDS 6-inch kit on it. We powder coated the whole kit in Illusion Cherry from Prismatic, and basically this is going to give you guys the general instructions on how to do any lifts. Realistically, from about 05 to current, there are some things that are different on the newer Illumidities from 17 and up, but this is basically how you'll be able to do a lift kit from anywhere from about 4 to 6 inches, basically with any lift kit. So we're going to teach you guys how to do it, and we're going to get right into it.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name, been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes, damn he did it again, I just flipped the pain.
So if you guys are interested in this particular kit, we'll link the part number to the kit in the description below. Basically, this is just a 6.5-inch BDS kit for the 2017 and plus trucks. We also added an add-a-leaf in the rear. And if you guys want, we are dealers and we can drop ship these parts. Same with anything. If you guys see this on our channel, we can drop ship any of these parts to you. So if you guys are interested in getting parts, just give us a call or an email. That will also be in the description. And yeah, so let's start getting into this. So we have a little bit of an advantage compared to you guys doing this at home. We're going to be using our 2-post lift. If you guys are doing this at home, basically just make sure to jack the truck up as high as you possibly can, and then make sure you place your jack stands accordingly to where the truck's going to be safe. Safety is #1 priority. All right guys, so we got the wheels and tires off. In the instructions it says to start doing a lot of the front stuff. I'm gonna ignore that. You guys can do however you want. I'm gonna start by doing the T-case clock because it's nice to just get that out of the way. It's kind of like a pain in the ass to do, so we're just gonna get that done. So I'm gonna start by taking out the front and rear drive shafts, and then I already got the transmission on a jack, so we'll be able to take the skid plate off and then the cross member off. And once we get that off, then we can kind of go over how to take the T-case out. Unfortunately, we got to take the whole T-case out, set it on the ground, bolt the new clocking plate up, and then re-put the T-case back in and drive shafts. So it's a bit of a process, so we're just going to get right into it.
State your name, been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes, damn he did it again, I just flipped the pain, stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming, I put my low racks on it.
So if you guys are doing an install on a 17 and up Super Duty with the clocking ring is only required on the 6.5 and I think 8.5 kits. It says right here that the transmission oil pan will need to be clearanced for installation. You can either do it with a grinding wheel or a hammer. It's just this tab right here just needs to be flattened just a little bit. So we're just going to grind off just a little bit of surface right here to make that indexing ring fit on there flush. I'm gonna start with just a little bit and just see if that's gonna be enough. Yeah, that fits nicely. Yeah, I can tell that it's touching every surface. So that's it, that's all you gotta do right there. So then we're gonna install the Allen bolts that they've provided, and we're gonna apply some red Loctite onto the threads of each of the bolts. And then we're going to torque these bolts to 35 foot-pounds.
Losses, I had to get back off it. See the Fit Lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it. I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in. Flex. I just wanna win. LABB, who we running with.
That wasn't very fun. And it probably looked like it was two monkeys, a football. 45, Ryan. On the dot, boom, bing bong. Boom, 45. So now we're gonna put in our transmission cross member, and we're just gonna put 2 bolts in it just to hold the transmission up. Once we get the radius arms out, the radius arm drop bracket ties in with these 2 bolts here. So for right now, we're just gonna put this in here and kind of have it just sitting in there. And lastly, we're gonna remember to connect our breather hose and our electrical. So now we're gonna work on the front suspension. We're gonna start by disconnecting some of the brake lines, ABS lines, and vacuum lines, just so that when we drop the suspension, we're not gonna damage any of those lines. Now we're gonna take the drag link, end link off. And so there's a cotter pin that we're gonna have to take off. We're gonna take this nut off of the end link. It's a 24 millimeter. And I'm just gonna stash this back on here and then hit this with a hammer. So we're gonna take just the sway bar end link out of the way for right now. This should drop the truck maybe just a little. It's not gonna be a whole hell of a lot. We'll just go up, stash the nuts back on it. And we'll just set that out of the way. With this kit, you don't reuse the factory steering stabilizer. This gets removed. So this, and same with the bracket on the frame, which is just 2 13 millimeters. Boom. So now that we've gotten all that taken apart, now we're going to take the track bar apart. We're not doing an adjustable track bar on this, so all we got to do is just take this bolt out, and then that will get our track bar free, and then it comes with a drop bracket. So we're also going to take the 3 bolts that are over here, and then the 2 bolts that are over here. And then we also are doing a pitman arm drop, so we're going to have to get the pitman arm puller out and get that taken care of as well. So for those of you that are wondering what size this nut is for the track bar, it is a 30 millimeter socket. And once we put this back on, this bolt gets torqued to 406 foot-pounds. Okay, track bar is out. Now the track bar bracket, they're 3 21 millimeters and then 2 18 millimeters. So we've pretty much gotten everything torn apart in the front end. The only thing that really needs to hold the axle up is the front shocks and the radius arms, and that's what's being held right now. We're gonna get the radius arm brackets in, get the new 4-link bars in, get the new coils and chocks in, and then we're gonna come back and put in the pitman arm. And then that will give us more down travel, so we'll be able to get the impact in to get the pitman arm nut off, and then get our puller in here and then pull the pitman arm and then install the new pitman arm. now it's time to take our pitman arm off and then replace it with our pitman arm drop pitman arm, I guess. So we're just gonna take this nut off. This is the easy part. And then you're gonna wanna clean the threads of your pitman arm, and then when we put this nut back on, we're gonna make sure to use a lot of Loctite, red Loctite on it. So now we're gonna use our pitman arm puller. This is a snap-on pitman arm puller. Part number PAR 1188, if anyone is interested. It's gonna make a loud boom. And just like that, as long as you're using the right tools, it makes this job super easy. This is our new pitman arm. So you can see it's got a lot bigger drop for our lift kit. Then we're gonna clock this back the way that it came. So now that you've installed your pitman arm and torqued it to spec, now we're gonna install our track bar drop bracket. This uses the same factory holes, and then it looks like we're also gonna add something to it. Not quite sure yet, but we'll figure that out here in a second. So those just go like that. And the reason you want to do your pitman arm first is because now we can't get to that. And now we're going to torque the track bar bracket bolts down to 129 foot-pounds torque. So now we're going to install our bump stop drop brackets. And we just got to take the bump stop off. This works pretty easily if you just use a hammer. Just give it a tap and it comes right out. And then we're going to take the bolt out, and it's a 10 millimeter. And that's that. So now we can install our OEM bump stop, and you basically just go like this, give it a little turn, and then she's in there. Okay, so basically we have this alignment shim, and this either offsets it so the track width is one way or the other. For our 6-inch kit, we're going to be having the hole closest to the passenger side. And then to do this in the air, all I did was I took my ratchet strap and I just went around the frame and then on the sway bar over here, and then basically ratchet strapped it, and then we're able to put the track bar in. And then I've positioned this one. And then we'll take our cam for the back and make sure that it's positioned correctly. We're already torqued. So now that we've gotten the whole front end done, now we're able to tighten our front suspension. So we're going to go through and pretty much tighten every single bolt on the suspension. So now that we got all of our suspension tight, now we're gonna get our drag link put in. I just loosened up the bolts here and then flip this, and we're able to turn our suspension and put our end link into our pitman arm. And then we're gonna tighten this and torque it to spec. So now we're gonna install our sway bar drop brackets. These basically have the closed end or open end. The closed end is going to go towards the outside, and it's basically going to be pushing the sway bar forward. And then you're using the OEM hardware to install it to the frame. Now we're gonna install this here drive shaft. We've put Loctite on our bolts, and we're gonna put this up in the holder. What do you think, Ryan? So now we're gonna install the transfer case skid plate. BDS provides us with these brackets. For some reason, on the 6-inch kits, they only want you to install one. But since we got both of the brackets, we might as well install both of them because I think it will look, I'm too OCD to not do that. So we pretty much realistically have almost all the parts finished. We're gonna wait to do the steering stabilizer on this till it's after alignment. You don't have to do that, but it's just a little bit easier for them to align the truck without it on there. So we're gonna get the rear done. On this kit, we're doing an add-a-leaf. We opted not to powder coat these just because we didn't powder coat any of the other leaves. And then we're doing blocks, and then this is also an extra block that goes onto the leaf spring itself. And then we're doing the traction bars. So this is the lower traction bar mount. And then, yeah, so we're gonna start going and doing this. The first step of what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the shocks out of it. And then once we take the shocks out, then we can start going and getting our U-bolts out. And just like the front, we're gonna work one side at a time. So now we're making some slack for our brake lines, ABS lines. There's a lot of room actually, but I'm just gonna take the lower bolt out on the axle for our vent hose, and this will free this all up. And I think that's probably all we're gonna need to do. We might need to loosen up the e-brake cables too, but that should be about it. So now what we're gonna do is install the 1-inch block, and we're gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start by taking a vice grip and clamping on the centering pin for the leaf springs. And you wanna make this super tight. And then we're gonna take this bolt off of there. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna let the tension off of this and then slowly let the axle down. And we're gonna take the block out. And then all these leaves will stay there besides this bottom one. So we're gonna try to break it free. Okay. So we're gonna keep all this the same. The only thing that we're gonna do differently, we're gonna pull this out, set it down the same way that it came out, pull our pin out. We're gonna grab our new pin, our 1-inch block that is not tapered. Install that through this. And then install this back into all of this. See, we wouldn't have even been able to make it with that add-a-leaf, so I don't know why they gave that to us, because the bolt wouldn't be long enough. Now we've gotten everything lined up. We're gonna make sure that everything's nice and centered. And then we'll tighten this up. And this doesn't take a ton of torque to tighten this. And now, we can slowly let our axle. Now we're going to install our lift block. These are tapered. The smaller end goes towards the front. This is going to get our pinion angle on our drive shaft proper. So now we're going to put our U-bolts back. And these ones we just got to be careful with because they're powder coated. So we're just going to take our time. So now that we've gotten the leaf springs in, we got the 1-inch block, the tapered 6-inch block. If you guys are doing the traction bars, now we're going to put the lower mount on. If not, then it's just going to be the factory mount. All right, so now we're going to install our shocks. All right guys, so we've basically completed the lift kit on this truck. Right now I'm just getting the breather hose put back in, and then there's no brake line brackets for the rear. Right now the truck's at full droop, so the truck is limited to go this low, so it can't go any lower, and there's plenty of slack on the brake lines, so that's why they don't provide anything with the kit. And yeah, basically we're going to get the drive shaft put in, and we'll put it on the ground and get the traction bars put in. Now we've torqued our drive shaft bolts, so pretty much there's literally like nothing left to do. We're going to throw on a rear diff cover and take it to alignment and call it a day.